I didn't cry. Not when my mother smiled at me like I was already gone. Not when she held my hand too tight like she was afraid I might run. I only cried later, when I realized I was never the daughter she wanted. I was the secret she was trying to erase. The night I got married, everything felt wrong. Not the dress, not the lights, not even the silence in the room. It was her face. My mother wasn't emotional. She wasn't proud. She was relieved. She kept checking the door, like she was waiting for someone to come take me away. When my husband finally entered the room, he didn't look at me the way a man looks at his bride. He looked at me like he already knew something I didn't. My mother grabbed his arm before he reached me, whispered something so quiet, but I saw his expression change, just for a second. Then she smiled again, that same fake smile, and said out loud, "Take care of her," like she was handing over a responsibility, not her daughter. The door closed, and for a moment, everything was quiet. I stood there, frozen, heart pounding, waiting for him to say something sweet, something normal. But instead, he locked the door, slowly, turned around, and said, "Put your clothes on." My breath stopped. What? His voice didn't change. "Put your clothes on and come with me." That's when I felt it. Something was wrong. Not nervous wrong. Not awkward wrong. Dangerous wrong. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. Something inside me told me to listen. So I changed, hands shaking, heart racing, and followed him. He didn't even look back, just opened the back door and walked out into the dark. The air was cold, too cold for a wedding night. And then I saw it, a black car, engine already running, waiting. I stopped walking. "Who is that?" He finally turned to me, and for the first time, his eyes softened, but not with love, with pity. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." My stomach dropped. Find out what? He took a deep breath and said, "She sold you." Everything inside me just went silent. "No, she took money for this marriage." I shook my head. "No, you're lying." But he didn't argue. He just looked at me like he wished he was lying. "She told me you'd agree, if I didn't tell you until after the ceremony." My chest tightened. "She said you had no one else." That's when something broke inside me. Not loudly, quietly, like something that had been breaking for years. "Then why are you telling me now?" He looked at the car, then back at me. "Because I'm not the one who bought you." My heart stopped. What? That man is. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. The world around me blurred. The sound of my own heartbeat, too loud, too fast, too real. "No." I stepped back. "No, this isn't happening." He moved closer, lowered his voice. "You have 10 seconds. My body froze. 10 seconds for what? To decide if you're running or staying. My legs felt weak. My mind was screaming, "Run." But my heart was asking one thing. Why? Why would she do this? Why would my own mother? He looked at me again. "You don't have time to understand. Only time to choose." The car door opened, and a man stepped out, slowly, confident, like he already owned everything, including me. I felt my chest tighten. My fingers went numb. And then he smiled. Not kindly, not gently, but like someone who had already paid and was just waiting to collect. I looked at my husband. Why are you helping me? He hesitated just for a second, then said something that I will never forget. Because someone did this to my sister? And just like that, everything became real. This wasn't a nightmare. This wasn't confusion. This was planned, carefully, coldly, and I was standing in the middle of it. My entire life suddenly made sense. Every time she compared me, every time she said I wasn't enough, every time she looked at me like I was a burden, it wasn't hate. It was preparation. She was preparing to get rid of me. I felt something rise inside me. Not fear, not pain. Something darker. Something sharper. Something that whispered, "Don't run. Not yet." The man took a step closer. "You're coming with me?" Like it wasn't even a question. I looked at him, then at the car, then at the house behind me, the house that was never really mine. And then I smiled. For the first time that night, I smiled and said, "Okay." Both of them froze, not expecting that, not expecting me to agree. But inside I had already decided something else. If they thought I was weak, if they thought I was something to be sold, then they had no idea what they had just created. Because I wasn't running. I was going to walk straight into it and burn everything from the inside, starting with her, my mother. If you want part 2, where everything flips and the revenge begins, just type in comment, continue part 2. The moment I said, okay, something shifted, not outside, inside me. Fear didn't disappear. It transformed into something colder, something focused, the kind of calm that only comes right before everything breaks. He watched me carefully, like he was trying to understand why I wasn't screaming, why I wasn't running. But he didn't know. Running would have saved me, but staying would destroy them. The man by the car smiled wider. "Smart girl." His voice was smooth, too smooth, like someone used to getting what he wants. I walked toward the car, step by step, feeling both of them watching me, measuring me, judging me. But what they didn't see was my hand slowly reaching into the folds of my dress, touching the one thing I never let anyone take from me. My phone, still recording. I had turned it on the moment my mother whispered to him. I didn't even know why at the time. Instinct, maybe, or something deeper. Something that knew this night wasn't normal. Now, it was everything. Proof, voices, truth, all of it, safe. In my hand, I slid into the back seat. Slowly, quietly, the door shut, and with it, the last piece of the girl I used to be disappeared. The car started moving. No one spoke for the first few seconds, just the sound of tires on the road, and my heartbeat, counting every second. Then he spoke. "You'll get used to it." I turned my head slightly, looked at him. "Used to what?" He chuckled. "That depends on how well you behave." My stomach twisted, but my face stayed still. I leaned back, pretending to accept it, pretending to break. But inside, I was building something, something patient, something dangerous. We drove for what felt like forever, until the city lights disappeared and darkness took over. Finally, the car slowed down and stopped. A large gate opened, automatically, like it was expecting us. We entered. A house stood in the middle of nowhere. Too big, too quiet, too empty. The kind of place where no one hears you scream. He stepped out first, then opened my door, held out his hand, like a gentleman, like this was normal. I didn't take it. I stepped out on my own, looked straight into his eyes, and for a second, just a second, his smile faded. He noticed I wasn't scared anymore. Interesting, he muttered, but he still turned, still walked toward the house, still expected me to follow. So I did. Inside, everything was perfect, too perfect, clean, cold, controlled, like a prison dressed as a palace. Your room, he said, pointing upstairs. Get comfortable. I nodded, walked up slowly, counting steps, noticing cameras, doors, windows. Everything, every detail mattered now. The room was large, soft bed, big mirror, locked windows. I closed the door, and finally, let my body shake. Just for a moment, just one moment, to release it, to feel it, to remember who I was before I became who I needed to be. Then I looked at my phone, still recording, still capturing everything. I replayed the audio. My mother's voice, clear, undeniable. She has no one else. She'll do whatever you say. And once the papers are signed, she's yours. My hand stopped shaking, completely. Papers. This wasn't just about selling me. This was about something bigger, something legal, something planned. I wiped my tears, slowly, carefully, and smiled again. Not like before. This time, it was real, but not innocent. If she wanted to erase me, then I would rewrite everything in front of her. The next morning, he came into the room without knocking. Time to sign. He placed documents on the table. Thick, official, dangerous. I walked over, pretended to read, but I already understood enough. Property transfers, identity changes, ownership. They weren't just buying me, they were turning me into something that legally wouldn't exist anymore. I looked up at him. Soft voice. Do I get anything? He smiled. You get to survive. I nodded slowly, picked up the pen, and signed. But not my real name. His smile didn't change. He didn't notice. Not yet. And that was the moment. Everything flipped. Because while they thought I had just given everything away, I had just created the first crack in their entire plan, and cracks spread. That same night, when everyone was asleep, I opened my phone, sent one message, just one, to a number I hadn't saved, but would never forget. Do you still help girls like your sister? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. My heart slowed, not from fear, from anticipation. Then the reply came, yes. I smiled, looked around the room, the cameras, the walls, the silence. Good, I typed, because this time, I'm not the victim. I'm the trap. If you're ready for part 3, where the first person falls and the truth starts exploding, comment part 3. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I just lay there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound, every footstep, every breath inside that house. Because now, every second mattered. Every mistake could cost everything. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready. At exactly 2:13 a.m., my phone vibrated. One message. Location? I didn't reply immediately. I got up, walked slowly to the mirror, looked at myself. The same face, but not the same girl. That girl was gone. This one was calculating, cold, focused. I typed the address, sent it, then added one more line. There are cameras. 3 dots appeared instantly. Good, leave them on. I froze. Why? The reply came slower this time, because monsters don't hide when they think they're winning. A slow smile spread across my face. Perfect. Morning came too fast. He walked in again. Same confidence. Same control. Get ready. I nodded. Soft, obedient. Exactly what he expected. Downstairs. Something was different. 2 more men, sitting calmly, watching me like I was already theirs. Final step today, he said. After this, everything becomes official. Official? I almost laughed. If only he knew how official things were about to get. They handed me another set of papers. Thicker, heavier, more dangerous. I flipped through slowly, buying time, watching, learning. Names, accounts, properties, transactions. Everything was here. And suddenly, I understood everything. This wasn't just about me. I was the cover, the missing piece, the one person they could erase, to hide everything else. Money laundering, illegal transfers, fake identities. And my mother. She knew. She didn't just sell me. She offered me as the perfect disappearance. My chest tightened, but I didn't show it, not even a flicker. Sign, he said again. Impatient now, I picked up the pen, looked at him, then at the papers, then smiled softly, and signed. Again, wrong name, same mistake. But this time, I did something else, something small, something invisible. I pressed my thumb, just slightly, on the edge of the paper, leaving behind something they couldn't see, but someone else would. Ink, from the pen I had switched earlier. Invisible marker, the kind that only shows under the right light, the kind used in evidence. Hours passed. Everything seemed normal, too normal. They were relaxed now, comfortable, laughing, because in their minds, it was done. I was theirs. But at exactly 4:47 p.m., Everything changed. The gate opened. Loud. Unexpected. One of the men stood up. What the hell? Another walked to the window, then froze. There's police. Silence. Heavy. Deadly. He turned slowly, looked at me, eyes sharp now, suspicious. What did you do? I tilted my head slightly. Soft voice. Confused expression. What do you mean? But inside, my heart was steady, perfectly steady. The door slammed open. Boots. Voices. Commands. Don't move. Chaos exploded. One man ran. Another shouted. Papers fell everywhere. And him. He didn't move. He just kept staring at me, like he was finally seeing me for the first time. You, he whispered. I stepped closer, slowly, calmly, and for the first time, I dropped the act. No, I said quietly. You did this. His jaw tightened, anger rising, panic hiding behind it. You think this ends here? I smiled, not softly, not gently, dangerously. This is just the beginning. They handcuffed him, pulled him away. The other men, same fate, same panic, same collapse. And me? I stood there, watching, feeling nothing. Because this wasn't the end, not even close. As they walked him past me, he leaned in, voice low, almost impressed. You're not a victim. I looked straight into his eyes. I told you. I'm the trap. The doors slammed shut, sirens fading. And finally, the house was silent. But one name kept echoing in my mind, louder than everything else. Her. Because the real story, the real revenge, hadn't even started yet. If you're ready for part 4, where I go back home and destroy the one person who started all of this, just type part 4. The ride back felt longer than the night I was taken, not because of distance, but because of what was waiting at the end. Home, the place that was never really mine. The police asked questions, names, details, connections. I answered everything, calm, clear, controlled. Not once did my voice shake. Because now, this wasn't survival anymore. This was execution. Before they dropped me off, one officer looked at me. You're safe now. I held his gaze for a second, then nodded. But inside, I almost smiled. Safe was never the plan. The house looked exactly the same. Same walls, same windows, same silence. But something felt different, like it already knew what I was about to do. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first, familiar, but now uncomfortable. Voices from the living room, laughing, normal, like nothing had happened. I walked closer, slowly, quietly, and then I saw her, my mother, sitting there, relaxed, smiling, like she hadn't just sold her own daughter. My sister beside her, scrolling her phone. My brother on the couch. Everyone, perfectly fine. Until they saw me. Silence. Sharp. Instant. My mother stood up first. Her face changed. Not shock. Not relief. Fear. You, she whispered. I tilted my head slightly. Same way I used to when I was a child. Only now, there was nothing innocent left in it. Miss me? My sister dropped her phone. My brother stood up slowly, confused. What's going on? He asked. My mother didn't answer. She couldn't, because she knew exactly what was coming. I stepped forward, one step, then another. You should have told them, I said softly. Her lips trembled. Stop. But I didn't stop. You should have told them what you did. My sister frowned. What is she talking about? I looked at her, really looked, and for a moment, I almost felt something. Almost. But then, I remembered everything, and the feeling disappeared. So I smiled. She sold me. The room froze. My brother laughed nervously. What? But my sister, she didn't laugh, because she was watching our mother, and our mother was silent. No, my brother said again. Say something. He turned to her, waiting, begging. But she couldn't lie, not this time, because I reached into my pocket and placed my phone on the table. Play it, I said. My sister hesitated, then picked it up, pressed the screen, and suddenly, her voice filled the room. She has no one else. She'll do whatever you say. And once the papers are signed, she's yours. My mother's words. Clear. Cold. Final. My brother stepped back, like he'd been hit. My sister covered her mouth, eyes wide. Shaking? No, she whispered, but it was too late. Because truth, once heard, can't be unheard. My mother tried to speak. Listen. But I raised my hand, not aggressively, just enough to stop her. You had years, I said quietly. Now it's my turn. She broke then. Completely? No, please. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at the door, because right on time, it opened. 2 officers stepped in, and suddenly, the room wasn't a family anymore. It was a crime scene. My mother's face drained of color. You, she whispered again. I finally looked back at her. This time, no softness, no hesitation. Did you really think, I said slowly, you'd get away with it? They read her rights, her voice shaking, her body weak. My brother stood frozen, unable to move, unable to understand. My sister collapsed into the chair, crying. And me? I just stood there, watching, feeling something, not joy, not pain, justice. As they took her past me, she reached out, desperate, broken. I'm your mother. I stepped back, just out of reach. No, I said quietly. You were just the beginning. The door closed, and just like that, everything she built, everything she believed, everything she valued, collapsed. In seconds, the house fell silent again, but this time, it felt different, lighter, cleaner. My brother finally spoke, voice barely there. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at him. Long. Deep. I just did. Then I turned, walked toward the door. Because I wasn't staying. Not anymore. As I stepped outside, the air felt different, like I could finally breathe. But deep down, I knew something they didn't. This wasn't over. Because the money, the documents, the network behind all of this was still out there. And now, they knew my name. If you're ready for the final part, where everything comes back, and the last twist changes everything you thought was true, just comment. Final part. The silence after that night was louder than everything that came before. No more shouting, no more lies, no more pretending. Just space. The kind of space where your thoughts get dangerous, where questions start crawling back. Questions like, why did she really do it? How deep did it go? And why did it feel like something was still missing? I didn't go back to that house again. Not once. I moved into a small apartment. Bare walls. One bed. One chair. One window. A simple, safe. Or, at least, it looked safe. Days passed. Then weeks. The case exploded. News channels picked it up. Headlines everywhere. Human trafficking, illegal identity transfers, multiple arrests, and her name, my mother's name, was right in the center of it. People called me brave, strong, lucky. They had no idea. This wasn't luck. This was war. Because one thing kept bothering me. Something small. Something no one else noticed. That man. The one who answered my message. The one who said, yes. He never asked who I was. He never asked how I got his number. He already knew. And that didn't feel like help. It felt like preparation. So I went back, not to the house, to the beginning. That letter, the one hidden behind the mirror, the one from my father. I had taken it with me, kept it folded, untouched, until now. I sat on the floor, heart steady, hands calm, and read it again, slowly, carefully. I know she isn't mine, but I will love her as my own. If you ever tell her the truth, I will tell her what you did. The same words, but this time, they felt different. Because now, I wasn't reading it as a daughter. I was reading it as someone who knew. Something was hidden. I flipped the letter over. Again. Looked at the number. Again. And this time, I noticed something I hadn't before. A small mark, barely visible, next to the number. A symbol, simple, but familiar. My breath slowed. I had seen it before, on the documents, in that house, on the files. It wasn't just a random contact. It was part of it. My fingers tightened around the paper. That wasn't a rescue number. That was a connection. Everything inside me went quiet. Slowly, carefully, I picked up my phone and called it. It rang once, twice. Then he answered. I was wondering when you'd call. My chest didn't tighten this time. It didn't race. It settled into something cold, sharp, ready. You knew, I said quietly. A soft chuckle. Low. Controlled. I know everything. Silence. Heavy. Stretching. Who are you? A pause. Long enough to matter. Then he said something that made everything fall into place. I'm the reason your mother never told you the truth. My hand tightened. And what truth is that? Another pause. Then, very calmly, very clearly, he said, you were never supposed to survive. The world didn't spin. It didn't shake. It just stopped. Every memory, every moment, every look, every word, click into place. You weren't a mistake, he continued. You were leverage. My breathing slowed, controlled, intentional. Leverage for what? And then he said the one thing that changed everything I thought I knew. For me, silence. And in that silence, I understood. This was never just about my mother. She wasn't the mastermind. She was a piece. And I was the reason the game existed. Why now? I asked. His voice didn't change. Because now you're ready. My grip on the phone loosened, just slightly. Ready. He wasn't threatening me. He wasn't warning me. He was inviting me. Come find me, he said, and I'll tell you who you really are. The line went dead. I sat there, phone still in my hand, heart steady, mind clear, and for the first time since all of this began, I smiled, not out of anger, not out of pain, but out of understanding, because now this wasn't revenge anymore. This was something bigger, something deeper, something that had been planned long before I was born. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the world. Different now, clearer, sharper. They thought the story ended with my mother in handcuffs, but they were wrong. That was just the first layer. And now, I was going deeper, not as a victim, not as someone broken, but as something they never expected. The girl who survived, the girl who learned, the girl who became dangerous. And somewhere out there, he was waiting, not to chase me, but to see what I would become. And the scariest part, I think I'm exactly what he wanted. And maybe that's exactly what I wanted too.